G'day viewers, this is Annie. Welcome to my gold nugget detecting channel. I'm not out detecting at the moment because it's summer. I'm trying to avoid the heat and the wet up here. For those of you who may not be familiar with Queensland, the season for detecting is considered to be April till October, unless of course you're very fortunate to live near a goldfield and can get out very early in the morning to beat the heat. Today's video is about how to find gold in Queensland, how to obtain a fossicking licence, and the rules and regulations behind fossicking in Queensland. I'll start the video by saying if you do treasure detecting like coins and jewellery on beaches, no fossicking licence is required. With council parks you need to check with some councils as they prohibit it altogether and some require a permit. The Queensland Government website has a lot of information available to you, and it's where you apply online for a fossicking licence, so I'll put up a link to that in the description part of this video. So firstly, what I thought I'd introduce you to is the Fossicking Act 1994 in Queensland. The definition of a fossicking material is a gemstone, an ornamental stone, mineral specimen, alluvial gold, or a fossil other than a fossil of a vertebrate animal, or a substance prescribed by regulation to be fossicking material. And that doesn't include meteorites, tektites, or impact or ejected material associated with a meteoric impact structure. The term fossicking in Queensland means to actually search for fossicking materials on the ground surface or digging with a hand tool, not just merely picking something up off the ground while you're walking along. Hand tools mean a pick, a shovel, hammer, sieve, shaker, or electronic detector, or another tool that they may, by regulation, term a hand tool. In their notes on the website it says that dredges, sluices, dry blowers or machinery of any other type are not permitted. Like most states in Australia, it's illegal to fossick in protected areas such as national parks, conservation parks and special wildlife reserves. In Queensland, it's illegal to fossick in state timber reserves and state forests. The exception is if it's a declared fossicking area or a general permission area in a state forest. There are various licences that you can apply for in Queensland, such as an individual, family, club, or if you're an educational organisation or a commercial operator. So if you want to gold detect in Queensland, you must have a licence, and penalties apply if you are unable to produce one to a ranger. The Act also limits the depth of which you can dig, up to like 1/2 metre in a watercourse or 2 metres on ground surface. Rangers in Queensland have the power under this Act to request you to produce evidence of a fossicking licence, whether it be in a printed version or on your iPhone, and they also have powers to inspect your vehicle, confiscate your vehicle, confiscate your detecting equipment and any firearms, and those confiscated items might remain in custody for up to 6 months if there are anything going to court. With regard to selling any of your finds, whether they be gem or gold, basically you can do that if it's just the occasional sale, in other words, not on a commercial basis. The Section 37 on the volume, weight and number of specimens that may be restricted, I inquired with the Department of Mines and they've said that there's just an overriding policy that provided you don't exceed the threshold of $100,000 where royalties are applicable, you're pretty right. A Fossicking licence can be purchased online, and the credit card is currently the only payment option. Users that use Firefox or Google Chrome may have to try another type of Internet Explorer to be able to do this. I'll put up a link in the description part of the video. Once you go into this system, you can select what type of licence you want, the start date, and input your particulars. You also acknowledge that you will abide by the terms and conditions of the Act. It's a multi-purpose form where you can also apply for a camping permit. My experience is that the camping permits seem to really only relate to the gem fields. Once I get confirmation of the Fossicking licence, I print out a copy to keep with me, and I also keep a copy on my smartphone. On the back of the Fossicking licence, there is a provision for station owners and the like, or private property owners, to endorse their consent. So where can you fossick in Queensland without the landholder's consent? You can fossick in general permission areas. These are normally within the state forests, and designated fossicking lands. A boundary watercourse doesn't need permission to enter or to fossick on, but if it forms part of other land, you may have to, so you need to check. And you'll generally need any landholder's written consent where it involves private land. The Fossicking Act does contain provision to protect a landholder against civil liability if they give someone that holds a current fossicking licence permission to fossick or camp on their land, mining claim or mining lease. It's probably worthwhile mentioning here that the fossicking regulations provide that vehicles driven must be registered and driven by a licensed driver. There are other little conditions like keeping to designated tracks and the like. I'll put up a link to this page that shows the various fossicking areas for gem fields and gold fields. It's important to note that those GPAs, or general permission areas, that the government has set up in the state forests have been consented to by the grazing leaseholder for people to detect in these areas. So bear in mind this when you go rip-roaring around places, that it's possible for these consents by the grazing leaseholder to be withdrawn from the government and restrict our areas even further. Well, that's it for this video, viewers. I'll put links to the various acts and regulations in the description part of the video if you want to research more.